Record.
Recording in progress.
All right, I am Afshin Moshrefi, creator of TradeWave, and today we're talking with Jason Perez. He was a former hedge fund trader and currently is a prop trading firm trader and many other things. I'm going to ask Jason to introduce himself.
Hey, Afshin. It's good to be on with you today. Just kind of looking through my history. I started in finance from a little kid. Actually, my great great uncle kind of get me into it, the understanding of the monetary system and all these things that when I was very young, I had no idea what this guy was talking about. Um, but as the years went on and I paid more attention, I kind of learned what he was talking about, took suggestions and reading books. And then I really got into finance and trading around 2008, 2009. Pretty bad time to try to learn how to trade, and my results were about the same. So it took a few years. That's the thing about trading. It's just like anything else. It'll take you a few years till you really get it. And so about if 4 or 5 years later, I started to really become profitable. I got hired by a firm shortly after that in 2013 was the first firm I worked for. There was basically as an analyst for a hedge fund, which then I got my Series 65, became a trader for their fund. And then years later, I just kind of ran different hedge funds, had my own hedge fund, still have my own fund still. And then now I'm working with a prop firm. So now still trading all these years. I have a company called Against All Odds Research. It's a research brand. So basically you can go on there and figure out what I'm doing, what I'm trading, and hear me rant about things from bees all the way to markets. So whatever you want to learn about is definitely on there.
Well, I'm gonna actually go and learn about bees also. I've learned a lot about the markets, but that sounds good. Didn't know about the bees. um, and by the way, I didn't really say much about myself. Jason and I met about a year ago. I am a technologist myself. I've had many companies in the past. I've developed many pieces of software and uh, somehow I came around and developed TradeWave. And uh, I was introduced to Jason about a year ago, and he started using TradeWave, and it took a few weeks, but I think he has positive things to say about TradeWave. With TradeWave, you get a view that you can't get any other way. No matter who says what, you cannot get this view. And I'm I want so what do you think about that?
So the what you said about it, you cannot. There's so many different models for seasonality. That's that yes, they tell you that the market goes up during this time. Anybody could tell you yes, after the election, the market usually goes up. TradeWave can tell you the magnitude, the momentum behind the move, all these things that you really want to know if you're an actual trader as opposed to somebody who's just speculating. Like, sure, if I say something on here, hey, the market will be up in November, it sounds cool. But if you're trying to trade and make money, it doesn't really matter. What's the magnitude of the move? Where should I get in? Where should I get out? And there's a lot of really good things that I've learned over the years from it that have been new things. Like, I can tell the magnitude of a move down and if it's within normal within range of being a normal range for something. For example, in August, you had the crash in August. Afshin then writes me and goes, hey, this is completely normal. So at the time, everybody's panicking and going, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. The market's going to come down forever and ever and ever. And basically the market came down to a logical point, got right to support, and was within range, which you could tell from the TradeWave model. And then you could just kind of go, okay, well, I'll buy it. I have a very close stop because if it's within range, basically I can put a stop very close, and then you could take the trade to the upside. So there's a lot of really interesting things about it that you can't get anywhere else.
Right. When there is a move in the market, you can immediately check and see if this is within historical norms or is it an anomaly.
Mhm.
And when the market dropped in August, it did that before many times, that at the with the same exact magnitude. And so it was not an anomaly, and exactly what we expected happened, which is turn around and make new highs.
Yes. And that's what we expected to happen, and it absolutely worked out that way.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly interesting to just kind of go through the TradeWave model. And one, there's so many different things on there. So if you're looking from commodities to ETFs to stocks, you have a great range of all of these things and all of these products on there. And it's an always the system is always building onto it. So if there's things that you don't have on it, you can get those on there.
Right.
So that's another great thing about it. But there's just so many things about it that I loved when I first started talking to you about it, which was trying to figure out how do you figure out the magnitude? How do you found a detrended model of seasonality? Like all these things didn't exist. These are things that I always wished existed, but they never existed. I talked to Afshin the first time and he tells me, I have all these things. I'm like, that doesn't, hey, are you sure? And then you started showing me the actual model and I was like, oh my gosh, this is all here. So I really do believe that it's a great weapon for a trader to have. If you're taking, even if you're a trend following guy like me, for my, what I use it for is it gets me into trades a lot better. So if you have a system and it's a 50% system, you add TradeWave to your system, now it's a 70 to 80% system. So anything that boosts your win rates, you're going to want to take advantage of, and TradeWave absolutely does that.
Very cool. I'm glad you really understand it, what you're looking at. The problem that we have when I show this to people, when they first look at it, they don't see what information it is. And it didn't take you long, but you got it. You got it within days, and you were able to use it very quickly. Um, I'm, by the way, I've been doing trading since God, for probably before you started. I've been doing trading. I know just about every single technical analysis system there is out there. I'm an expert in Elliott wave. Um, I still occasionally see the newsletters coming from Robert Prechter, and God, in 2023, they were so bearish. They said this is the end. Market is about to drop to zero almost. And my brother-in-law gets it, and he told me this, and I told him I like Elliott Wave, but they are not applying it correctly. I said, this is so bullish right now. And 2023 ended up being a 20+% year in the market. And I saw that in January. By the way, I have a video of it I think it was middle of January that I created this video that said market's going to be bullish in 2023. And it worked. I just, and the reason for that is I should probably show it to you. Um, well, I know you know, but show it on this video is that we do presidential election filtering, and the year that is the most bullish in the presidential cycle is the year before the election, and that was 2023. The markets have been extremely bullish the year before a presidential election since 1928. Um, I think I think it's dropped sharply once during Great Depression or World War II, one of those times, and it never has dropped sharply. It's just gone up.
Yep.
Um,
The pre-election year is always the most bullish year in the cycle.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
I've heard people write about that, but nobody really quantifies it.
yes, so that's the great thing about TradeWave is if I want to know anything about the election cycle, I can go on, I can see exactly what the magnitude of the move, how many years has it been up, how many years has it been down, what would be the normal range up or down. All of these things really matter. So when you're just looking at seasonality and it tells you that, hey, it goes up this amount of time, that doesn't tell me enough as a trader, especially if you're more short term than a 1 month time frame. Now you're trying to, and you're using leverage. If you're using leverage like options or anything, you have to be able to get in and out of these things very quickly and understand the moves. And so this really tells you that. So what are we looking at here, Afshin?
Right now, we're looking at S&P 500, 96 years of data on the year before a presidential election, which is 2023, what I was just talking about right there. This is showing that from beginning to the end of the year, which is in this case, in this model, is January 1st to the following January 1st. In TradeWave, we call that buy and hold. Uh, Market went up 24.02%, but look at all the other years. The only time it dropped sharply was 1931, the middle of the Great Depression. It has dropped a little bit in the past, but nothing significant. That's why I said 2023 was very bullish. And it turned out to be bullish. But how about this year? This year is the presidential election. When we go to the presidential election, then we see that the last four presidential election years have all been bullish. In 2008 and 2000, those two were bearish, and then the other ones that was severely, fairly sharp drop was in 1940, in World War II, and 32, Great Depression. These are small 2% drops here. So generally, this is also a very bullish year for the stock market. And when we look at the trend chart down here, this is a detrended chart, which basically averages every single year together, and then the trend itself shows you the probability of a move. So right now we are here about, let's take a look here. And I think this is right around the election. So right now, from October 25th until the day before election, there's a sharp up move right there. So the probability is pretty high that for the next few days, the market is still going to continue to stay bullish. And another thing that I made a video about is that the presidential election indicator, which is from somebody else had done the research originally, but if you go to July 31st, oh, I gotta do this. From July 31st until October 31st, whenever the markets have been bullish, the incumbent parties stayed in power. So this year it's been up over 5%. So if history repeats itself, then the incumbent party should stay in power. That would be how I read the elections using TradeWave right now. What's interesting, the next year is less bullish. Look at this. The year after a presidential election is not as bullish, although the last five has been. Actually, 9 out of the last 10 have been bullish, but 2001 was not. But the worst is this one. 2 years after a presidential election or the year of a midterm election is more bearish than the other years. This is overall. And by the way, you can also click here and look at more detailed statistics. So if you look at the 2 years after a presidential election, it's been 12 winners and 12 losers for the year itself. But then you can also go and segment any part of the year and take a look at what was the overall probability of the trend direction itself right there. Yeah, so these are some of a very special way of taking a look at the market. You can also look at all 96 years if you wanted to. All 96 years, there's been 65 winning years and 31 losing years for S&P 500 with a cumulative return of 26,000% since 1928. This is the kind of information that you can get from TradeWave.
I like this because when you're trying to really understand where you want to be positioned as a trader, you always have to take into consideration election years. And I think something that's very interesting, especially for people that are retirees, a lot of people think that election years are always like the scariest year to have your money in the market. They always go, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to take my money out until my president gets in or something. People always have these crazy ideas around election years. And really what you find is the year before the election is pretty bullish. The second best year in that cycle is the presidential election year. So that's also very bullish. So most of the time you're better off just leaving your money in. And 90% of the time, right after the election, you do get an election rally. So seeing that rally after the election is really important too. So once again, it's all of these things are really amazing when you just kind of look at the presidential cycle and being able to understand it in a way that you can make money on it, profit from it in most environments.
Right. And here is what happens after the election is over from today until the end of the year itself. Still pretty bullish. I mean, the trend is up. So we expect the market to continue after the election, just keep rising.
Which makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've had a very and that statistic even goes even higher. And like you said, and you already know this because you already said it, which is when the market is strong, it usually even has a stronger tilt towards your end. A lot of people think when it's strong, then you want to probably short the thing. But really, when the markets are strong, it even like if you look at back 2008, obviously that was a bad year in the market. So you had a downtrend after that time. 2000, that was another recession right after the dot-com bubble. 1988, that was right after the crash of 87. 84 was actually not a great year in the market. So it's when you look at these things and you go, okay, well, what's going on here? When the market's strong, usually it continues into year end. And this is another thing you can kind of see from TradeWave. Especially like if you want to do some great research and really figure out where you want to be positioned in each asset going forward, TradeWave is probably the best way to do that.
Right. I mean, for researching, you can't. I mean, I don't know if I can put a dime in the market anymore without looking at TradeWave
Mhm.
itself. I mean, the information now to me is essential, and that's probably because I look at it all the time and every day. But it's really helpful. It's as if I turned a flashlight on in a dark room. Suddenly I have some knowledge that I know nobody else knows. I mean, I talk to people that are so bearish during the most bullish times of the year.
And that's what I think is really important about understanding the data like we have here at TradeWave, which is when you're able to understand this type of data, and you can finally take a breath and go, okay, well, the market's bullish. Because some people look at it and go, see 2000, that was bad. See 2008, and it's like, no, the market was already getting hammered before anything happened in any of these presidential cycles. It
Right.
had nothing to do with an election. It was just the way it was at that time. That year was a bad year in the market. So if you take some of these out and you're able to go, okay, well, really in the last, since 1992, if you take those years out because we were already into a recession, we've had solid years every single year in the market since 92. So then you can kind of go, okay, now I am extrapolating some information of how this would work going forward so I can trade this. And then you start to trade it and you go, okay, well, now I'm getting into year end. We're probably going to see volatility come off hard. You could short volatility. I'm probably going to see the stock market move up. So now you can go long stocks. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to look at this. So I think this is the thing about TradeWave is it's very actionable. There's lots of products out there that will tell you what's on the chart or, read to you some, story that you basically want to hear because we all as humans have biases. This is without bias. This is just hey, this is the data. This is the way the market will probably go. Take advantage of it, make money, and be able to set your stop losses up and everything using one product. So that's what's really great about TradeWave.
Yeah, it's a history lesson. It's just this is what happened. It's not like we're not sugarcoating anything. This is just purely a history lesson, except nobody looks at it this way. And by the way, I don't know if you know if you can click on any of these bars, you can see the historical trade for for that particular year. I know you know that, but you can click on anything and see exactly what that trade looked like or that date range looked like that year. By the way, do you have you tried anything on cryptos with
Yeah,
TradeWave?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good time for Bitcoin. Kind of low Sharpe ratio, but Bitcoin
It's,
is on an up tear this time of the year. Look at that. 10.
so how does it look in election years only? I know there's not much data, but
Yeah, not much.
I'm pretty sure it's up most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last time was up 36 times 16. Dropped the 2012 election year, but
I think it's only showing those 40 days actually.
oh yeah, yeah, we're just looking at this. If you look at the entire buy and hold, yeah, it's been up 20,
Positive every year. Hmm.
63% just this year. I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
Yeah.
In
Yeah. I mean, it's Bitcoin.
2020, 300%.
Mhm.
I didn't realize this year itself was this high.
Oh yeah. I mean it was in a downtrend before it started to move up in 2023 and then now 2024 it's kind of following through. I did some research on it recently too, just looking at, what happens with Bitcoin and usually it breaks up before the election, which is interesting. It usually gets stuck in a range and then breaks out before an election.
Really?
And so yes, and then now it's moving higher now. through the election, and usually that means stocks usually move higher too. Once again, there's not a ton of data on it, so it's just kind of my speculation, but it is really interesting. It's
Well,
very interesting.
this, you're absolutely right. Right from here, well, this is the election right there, day before election. Yeah, 2024. Oh, the data isn't there because it hasn't happened yet. But here, right after the election, 2020 went up 100%. 2026 went up 41. This is till end of the year only, by the way. There. Yeah, it breaks up. Yeah, Bitcoin historically has been bullish in the 3 election years that it exists.
You can get on TradeWave and get that type of information. That's really important for you as a trader because it's a, hey, I can catch these 60, 100, 100, 200% moves. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. But I know you don't trade stocks, but I want to show you something pretty cool. If you look at, let's say, S&P 500 list, Broadcom, this time of the year, last 10 years, has gone up an average of 8% with a Sharpe ratio over 2.
Hmm.
Broadcom is a really, really good short-term opportunity right now. Um, and I myself look at the stocks quite a bit, and futures, we don't have anything. Natural gas is on a downtrend.
Hmm.
Orange juice is on an uptrend. People are drinking more oranges.
It's in a major move lately, actually.
Yeah, another cool thing I looked at was, look at this. New Zealand Canadian dollar
Oh, wow.
is on an up tear till end of the year.
Hmm. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is only a 60-day period that I'm looking at right there. Yeah, from today for the next 60 days till almost end of the year. Very bullish time. Yeah, by the way, I added a few of the foreign mark exchanges, London, Toronto, Korea.
Mhm. Mhm.
But so far, I don't know if anybody besides our friend Leor looks at it. But they're there. I love to hear from some people that would be interested in trading the foreign markets. So these are all the markets that we have right now, and there's also bonds and ETFs separately. But that's about it.
Very cool. So, all right, Ashton, you want to call it there? I think that was good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this 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 was good. So we're gonna have I'm gonna have webinars starting next week on this. So if anybody's interested, they can join these webinars and learn more about how to use TradeWave.
Nice.
Yep, we can call it here.
No, I like this. Thanks for having me on, Afshin. This was a lot of fun. We should do these more and do more speculation on like where the market's heading and stuff because it's stuff you and I talk about all the time, but it'd be fun to bring to your audience and just using the trade wave and it's what we're doing already. You know, you and I talk and we could just use the trade wave and say this is where we're at today. this is what we're thinking, and just move on. Like quick 10-minute videos and like our morning meetings anyways. It'd
Yeah,
be good
that'd be great.
channel.
We should do that. Yeah, let's just make videos. It
Mhm.
doesn't even have to be more than 10 minutes.
No, just get on and just kind of hop on and go, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is what's going on. Um, you should do a one like right before the election, like right before the election again, like just like in the morning, like early, put it out. Just go, hey, this is what we're looking at for the election. This is what the market will do. People will probably click on it just because it'll say election. I've noticed lately my numbers for anything people are watching or reading is really, really low because of the election. Like it's like the worst numbers I've ever had. But it's the election and people are just like, but if I put something out and I say, this is the election and this is what I'm thinking about the election, everybody will click it. Everybody wants to read it.
Oh, cool. Well, you should do something about the election also. You have a bigger
I,
audience than I
I
do.
have. I've did a couple small things lately. I put up something, that Bitcoin thing you and I just talked about, and I called it the best election trade. Just things like that.
Very cool. All right. I am going to